Hello, my name's Kyle Schmidt, and today this is my actual topic presentation. I'm here to talk to you why there's Buddhist statues in Muslim Pakistan today. Really, before we get started, we have to realize like kind of the region where it's at right now in Pakistan. Right now, it's mainly Muslim, and we have to also know India. India is also the majority is actually Hindu, and so the question raises like where did Buddhism really come from? In these regions of mainly Pakistan, but also we have to know the history of how how Buddhism got into India as well for us to fully understand this topic. So the question is, why are there Buddhist statues in Muslim Pakistan today? And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick to show you my PowerPoint. And so we see right here, let me go over one, sorry. The real question we need to ask ourselves is, who is Ashoka? I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. Ashoka really, who he is he's the emperor of the Mauryan dynasty of India. And if I remember correctly, this was about 2,300 years ago. And this was again under the rule of King Ashoka, who this is supposed to be like a painting of him right here, who was the ruler at the time, and he was really widely recognized as the first great proselyter of the religion of Buddhism, and we'll kind of get more into that later. But they knew him as one of the great kings. That's what most people knew him as, because of his transformation. And again, we recognize him as a Buddhist, but we need to get into his little bit of his history before. But really, before I get into that, I want to talk a little more what Buddhism is. Buddhism expanded throughout India at this time. Um, the expansion really came from King Ashoka again. Um, but what really brought Ashoka to Buddhism? What was the appeal? And I'll talk a little more about what Buddhism is, but I'll kind of talk about what the appeal is first. It was the conquest of the Kalinga, which was a great war that happened during that time. And what the King Ashoka saw at this time was that many were suffering, families were dying, and he saw many deaths at the time. And so he started to feel really remorseful for those that were affected by this war. And really, he came to Buddhism, is what he ultimately came down to. And really, why he came to Buddhism is he saw it as a form of repentance. After he saw the battle of conquering of the Kalinga, and really we needed to be able to understand why he came to this point. Is we need to understand a little bit about Buddhism. As I studied it before, and I've also, as I read up on it here, we have what's called I hope I'm pronouncing this right, is the Dharma. In Buddhism, they believe in like certain states of mind and things like that. Same with Hinduism, actually, as well. We see that, and even the Muslim culture, and many cultures believe in many religions believe in this, but Buddhism is a heavy um, factor, along with Hinduism and Muslim and Islamic. Being Islam is the Dharma, which really in the Buddhist mind it talks about being true, no injury, which you can equate to giving no harm to those around you, and being generous. Um, I also learned about this in a little bit more world religion classes some years ago. Is that you respect other views, and really what that means is you learn about other religions when you can. I know that's a huge factor in the Hindu religion as well. Is that when you have the chance and someone wants to talk to you about religion, you listen in, and that's really ultimately what King Ahsoka was talking about, is that we need to be open to others. We can't have these wars and us being separated. We need to come together and respect the beliefs. And really, when it comes to Buddhism, we believe in little sin and doing many good deeds. And that's really how he came down. This was his repenting period, is coming down to this point, and to show that he was willing to follow whatever he need to for the good of the people. And we know that there was a wide spread of Buddhism at the time. Um, First, we'll talk about the Edicts of Ahsoka, which really is a collection of 33 like inscriptions on the pillars of Ahsoka. Um, and I'll read this quote. It says, "Monuments erected by the king across modern day Pakistan and India, as well as on the rocks and in the caves in the same area, describe Ahsoka's conversion to Buddhism and his efforts to expand the religion in the subcontinent and beyond. We know in this description the Buddhism after the war, where we saw many people suffer. Um, just an example, actually, I'm going to read something else. It says, Rock Edict, I'm hoping, it says Rock Edict 8, Zoka, who refers to himself as beloved of gods and King Payadazi, writes, Beloved of gods, King Payadazi conquered the Kalingas 8 years after his coronation. 150,000 were deported, 100,000 were killed, and many more died from other causes. After the Kalingas were conquered, beloved of the gods came to feel a strong inclination towards the, it says Dharma, a love of the Dhamma and for instruction of the Dharma. Now the beloved of the gods feel deep remorse of having conquered the Kalingas. And that it goes on to describe Ahsoka's conquest change in foreign policy from one of the military might, not I'm sorry, let me say that again. From the foreign policy from one of military might to non-violent proselytization, which really means missionary work. At this time, he believed in doing a lot of missionary work and sending other people out to spread the Buddhism across India and Pakistan, even other countries at the time. And so, really, this is how the 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 statues came in Pakistan, was the widespread of spreading the religion of Buddhism. This is how these Buddhist statues came into Pakistan that we know today. And so, just to give some current state of Buddhism across, India and Pakistan, it says census in 2001 shows that there are around 8 million Buddhists in India still, which it seems like a lot, but it's probably, I think it's like number 5 or 6 in top religions in India, which is a huge country. And the population of Muslims in Pakistan makes up for just about 96% of their population. And so we kind of can tell that the Buddhists are not very well represented in in Pakistan anymore, but it's still in India they are, and that's from a long range of Islamic taking over and pushing them out. And so really that's how we come to the conclusion. Let me turn off my screen share real quick. That's how we come to the conclusion of how these statues came up in Buddhism, and it's really comes from knowing who King Asoka is and what he represents and how he came to his repentance is how those statues were formed. And what we know now today is Pakistan.